All right, females and steroids.
I think the females have a much higher fraction of their total steroid users in competition than males.
No amount of training or heavy lifting will naturally turn a woman into a man. That kind of transformation only happens when hormones are altered and anabolic steroids enter the body. These substances don't just build muscle, they change voices, faces, health, and identity itself. For some women, steroids unlocked unbelievable strength and dominance. For others, they led to obsession, loss, and irreversible damage. This is not a story about weakness, but about ambition pushed too far. There's a lie that has been repeated for decades, whispered in gyms, shouted on social media, and passed down like gym folklore, that if a woman lifts heavy weights, trains too hard, or pushes her body beyond some invisible boundary, she will somehow turn into a man. But that is not how the human body works. There is no exercise, no training program, and no amount of deadlifts or squats that can naturally transform a woman into a man. That kind of change does not happen through effort alone.
The endocrine system is a collection of cells and glands that produce and release hormones. These hormones are just chemicals that jump into the bloodstream and have their effect in distant areas of the body.
It only happens when the body's endocrine system is interfered with, when hormones are deliberately altered. Anabolic steroids do far more than help muscles grow. They reshape voices, harden facial features, broaden jaws, and place enormous strain on internal organs. And once many of these changes begin, there is no going back. Some women turn to steroids in the pursuit of strength. Others chase dominance, respect, or validation. But for every story you're about to hear, the ending shares a chilling similarity. At some point, the substances stopped being a tool and started taking control. These are the stories of women whose bodies, careers, and lives were permanently altered when steroids took over completely. Nicole Bass, the beast who broke herself. Nicole Bass was never an average athlete. From the moment she stepped into bodybuilding in 1985, it was clear she was built for something far beyond the norm. She could lift more than most men and do it with an ease that barely registered strain. Her sheer size made people stop and stare, and within just a few short years, her transformation turned heads across the fitness world. Nicole didn't ease into the spotlight, she burst through it. By the late 1990s, when she transitioned into professional wrestling, her physique looked almost unreal. Her muscles were massive, sharply defined, and layered with deep cuts that only come from extreme training, combined with chemical enhancement. This wasn't just the result of discipline and clean eating. Nicole was using anabolic steroids, substances designed to mimic testosterone and accelerate muscle growth beyond natural limits. The results were dramatic, but they came with consequences that had nothing to do with strength. Her jaw grew broader, her facial features hardened, and her voice dropped noticeably. These androgenic effects weren't cosmetic quirks, they were biological changes. And once they appeared, they stayed. Still, Nicole pushed forward, embracing the persona of the Beast, a name that perfectly captured her physical dominance. By the early 2000s, however, the same body that once looked invincible began to fail. In 2006, Nicole was rushed to the hospital with pancreatitis, a dangerous inflammation of the pancreas often linked to steroid abuse. That wasn't the end. Years later, she suffered a stroke, followed not long after by a heart attack. Her organs were breaking down under years of chemical strain, and the powerhouse she had built was now collapsing from the inside. Nicole Bass passed away in 2017 at the age of 52. Her story is a brutal reminder that muscle can create the illusion of invincibility, but it cannot protect against the silent damage happening beneath the surface. What began as a hunger for strength ended in a slow, devastating breakdown of health and life. Chyna, the fall of a wrestling icon. Joan Laurer, known to the world as Chyna, was more than just a wrestler. She was a phenomenon. Standing 5'8" and weighing over 200 pounds, she walked into a male-dominated industry and shattered expectations. She didn't just compete with men, she defeated them, lifting full-grown opponents over her head like they were weightless props. On wrestling's biggest stages, Chyna became something no one had ever seen before. She proudly called herself the ninth wonder of the world. And for once, it didn't feel like exaggeration. But as her fame skyrocketed, so did the speculation. Chyna always denied using steroids, yet her deepened voice, extreme muscularity, and hardened facial features fueled constant rumors. Steroids don't simply build muscle, they alter biology. And people couldn't stop questioning whether her transformation was truly natural. While the public debated her body, Chyna's personal life quietly unraveled. She was in a relationship with Triple H, one of wrestling's biggest stars, until she discovered he was cheating on her with the boss's daughter. When Chyna confronted the company, expecting honesty or accountability, she was met with silence. Then, without warning, she was fired. Her career ended not with applause, but with a locked door. Without wrestling, Chyna lost more than a job. She lost her identity. She stopped training, her muscles faded, and the body that once defined her success became a painful reminder of everything she had lost. Addiction and depression took hold as she struggled to rebuild a life without the ring. In 2016, Chyna died from an overdose at just 46 years old. Her story proves a painful truth. Even the strongest bodies can shatter when the mind and heart are left unprotected. Nicole Bass showed us what happens when the body finally gives out under chemical pressure. Chyna showed us what happens when fame, identity, and purpose are ripped away. But the next woman didn't lose her career to illness or heartbreak. She lost it for a reason that still shocks people today, simply because she looked too strong. Irene Anderson, muscle profiling in Sweden. Irene Anderson wasn't hiding in the shadows or sneaking around gyms at night. She was a professional bodybuilder who had spent years sculpting her physique through relentless discipline. Standing 5 feet 7 inches and weighing around 185 pounds of dense, hard-earned muscle, Irene's body told a clear story of commitment, sacrifice, and physical mastery. But in Sweden, that story alone was enough to make her a suspect. In 2009, Irene was stopped by police under a controversial law known as muscle profiling. This law allows Swedish police to search bodybuilders they suspect might be using steroids. No warrant, no concrete evidence required. Suspicion alone, based purely on appearance, is enough. Irene wasn't caught in the middle of a crime. She wasn't acting suspiciously. She simply looked too strong. During the search, police discovered a small amount of anabolic steroids. The legal punishment was almost laughable, a fine of roughly $89. But the real damage had nothing to do with money. In bodybuilding, reputation is everything. Sponsors want clean images. Fans want believable stories of hard work and genetics. That single incident permanently altered how Irene was perceived. Overnight, her image shifted from disciplined athlete to suspected cheat. Years of hard work were overshadowed by one moment. Irene's story reveals an often ignored consequence of steroids, the social and legal fallout. Even the appearance of using them can dismantle a career. Her physique, once a symbol of pride, became the very reason her world collapsed. Kim Chizevsky Nichols, too strong for the system. Kim Chizevsky Nichols didn't just compete in bodybuilding, she redefined it. Starting her career in 1989, she rose rapidly through the ranks, and by the mid-1990s, she was nearly untouchable. In 1996, Kim weighed about 157 pounds of razor-sharp muscle, with legs so massive and powerful that fans nicknamed her Thundra. She wasn't just winning competitions, she was reshaping expectations. But success has a way of threatening systems built on comfort. In the year 2000, bodybuilding's governing bodies quietly changed the rules. Judges were instructed to prioritize femininity alongside muscle and conditioning. Suddenly, women were expected to look softer, prettier, and more traditionally attractive. Makeup, hairstyles, and facial aesthetics mattered almost as much as symmetry and definition. Kim was told she had become too big. To stay competitive, she was expected to reduce her muscle mass, to become smaller, lighter, and less dominant. While male bodybuilders were still praised for pushing size to the extreme, female athletes like Kim were being told they had crossed an invisible line. Her greatest strength became her greatest liability. Steroids had helped push Kim's physique into uncharted territory, but once she got there, the sport turned on her. The system that once celebrated her power now demanded restraint. Faced with the choice of shrinking herself or walking away, Kim stepped back from the spotlight. Her story exposed a harsh truth. For women in bodybuilding, there is a limit to how strong you are allowed to be. Renee Campbell, ice-cold discipline. Renee Campbell didn't build her body on talent or luck. She built it on control, absolute, unforgiving control. For nearly 10 years, Renee followed the same rigid eating plan without a single cheat day. Every 3 hours, day and night, she ate meals made up of chicken, rice, eggs, and cabbage. Often the food was cold. Comfort didn't matter. Results did. At her peak, Renee weighed close to 200 pounds, with a back that stretched an astonishing 47 inches wide. To maintain her size, she consumed more than 5,000 calories every single day. Eating wasn't enjoyment, it was obligation. When she went to restaurants, she brought a digital food scale to measure portions precisely, ignoring the stares and judgment around her. This obsessive discipline paid off. In 2019, Renee earned her pro card and became a world champion. But the question lingered quietly behind the applause. Was it worth it? Her life revolved entirely around structure. Social events disappeared. Spontaneity vanished. Everything existed in service of the physique. Renee never publicly admitted to using steroids, but her dramatic muscle density, extreme leanness, and deep definition raised eyebrows. Even if her transformation was entirely natural, the lifestyle itself came at a cost. Her story isn't just about muscle, it's about obsession and how control can slowly turn into a cage. Irene lost her reputation because she looked too strong. Kim lost her place because she was too strong. Renee sacrificed nearly everything for discipline that never loosened its grip. But the next woman didn't choose pain. Pain chose her. Colette Guimond, built from pain. Colette Guimond stood only 5 feet 1 inch tall. But when she entered a room, height instantly stopped mattering. Weighing around 150 pounds of dense, tightly packed muscle on a compact frame, she looked like raw power compressed into human form, as if every ounce of her body had been forged rather than grown. Her presence alone commanded attention, and her rise in the bodybuilding world was explosive, fast, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. Judges took notice almost immediately. Fans stared in disbelief. Competitors whispered among themselves, wondering how someone so small could carry so much mass. Colette wasn't just improving, She was becoming something extraordinary. Then, in 1997, everything changed. A devastating accident nearly ended her life and shattered the symmetry she had spent years perfecting. The balance, proportions, and precision that once defined her physique were suddenly gone. Her body was left damaged, uneven, and broken in ways no training program, no matter how advanced, could ever fully fix. For most athletes, this would have marked the end, a quiet retirement, a shift toward a different identity, and an acceptance that the peak had passed. But Colette was never wired that way. She chose a different path. She chose defiance. After enduring 9 surgeries, Colette returned to the gym with a mindset hardened by pain and survival. Every workout became a battle, not just against the weights, but against the memory of what she had lost. Instead of backing off, she pushed harder, training as if effort itself could rewrite fate. Each session felt like a confrontation with her limits, and each rep was a refusal to surrender. By 2005, that relentless determination paid off when Colette clawed her way back to the top, winning Canada's heavyweight championship and stunning the bodybuilding world with one of the most improbable comebacks the sport had seen. But for Colette, survival was never enough. By 2018, she had bulked up to an astonishing 175 pounds, packing even more mass onto her already compact frame. Her legs grew so massive that normal jeans became unusable, forcing her into stretch leggings just to move comfortably through daily life. Her muscles looked extreme, almost unnatural, igniting intense speculation about steroid use. While Colette never openly confirmed what she used, few believed that determination alone could explain a transformation so dramatic. Her story is one of resilience and obsession woven tightly together. Strength rebuilt her after the tragedy, giving her purpose and identity when everything else had been stripped away. But it also pushed her into territory where admiration and suspicion lived side by side. Colette Guimond became living proof that pain can create monsters, powerful, awe-inspiring ones, but that the cost of such power never fully disappears. Dayana Cadeau, from muscle queen to digital doll. Dayana Cadeau was elegance wrapped in muscle. When she entered bodybuilding in the early 1990s, she brought something different: strength paired with style, power balanced with poise. By 2004, she had captured the Miss Olympia lightweight title at just 127 pounds.
Dayana Cadeau, 2004 Miss Olympia winner. Dayana, you won this championship in 2004, and what did that do for you? The crown jewel of 2004, how to kill.
Her physique, perfectly symmetrical, dense, and breathtakingly refined. Whispers followed her success like a shadow. Her conditioning looked unreal. Her muscles seemed too perfect, too polished. People speculated about steroids the same way they gossip about celebrities, casually, constantly, and relentlessly. Dayana insisted her body was the result of elite genetics and brutal training, but subtle changes in her face and overall appearance made even seasoned experts suspicious. Then came the shift. As social media took over, Dayana's online presence transformed. Her Instagram no longer looked like a bodybuilding profile, it looked like a fashion editorial. Her waist appeared impossibly small. Her curves were exaggerated. Her skin unnaturally smooth. The muscles that once defined her success now appeared softened, filtered, and almost unreal. Fans began comparing old competition photos with new digital images, analyzing every detail. The conclusion was obvious. Dayana had traded physical perfection for digital perfection. Filters replaced flexing. Aesthetic fantasy replaced raw strength. Her journey reflects a deeper truth about modern fitness culture. Strength alone is no longer enough. Femininity, beauty, and online appeal now shape careers just as much as muscle ever did. Dayana conquered the bodybuilding stage, but in the age of social media, she reshaped herself again, not with weights, but with pixels. Toney, the woman with 20-inch biceps. Toney didn't stumble into legend. She built it deliberately, rep by rep. In the early 2000s, she transformed from an athletic woman into one of the most muscular females the world had ever seen. Standing 5 feet 8 and weighing around 214 pounds, Rennie looked like she had been carved for intimidation. Her muscles were thick, vascular, and impossible to ignore. But her arms were the true spectacle. Rennie's biceps measured a staggering 20 inches on one side and 20.25 inches on the other, a record that still stands today. Numbers like that don't just turn heads, they stop conversations. Unlike many athletes, Rennie didn't hide the truth. She openly admitted to using anabolic steroids. No excuses, no deflection, just honesty. She viewed them as tools, powerful ones, that helped her achieve what she wanted from her body. The side effects were impossible to miss. Her jawline sharpened, her voice deepened dramatically. Her appearance moved far beyond conventional femininity. Some hailed her as a pioneer who rejected societal limits. Others criticized her harshly, claiming she had crossed an irreversible line. Ren didn't care. She chose power over approval and visibility over comfort. Her record-breaking arms became a symbol, not just of size, but of unapologetic self-determination. Toney proved that when steroids take over completely, they don't just change the body. They force the world to react. Colette rebuilt herself from tragedy. Dayana reshaped herself for a digital age. Renee embraced power without apology. But the next story is darker. Joanna Thomas, from prodigy to pain. Joanna Thomas was a phenomenon from the very beginning. While most athletes were still figuring out who they wanted to be, Joanna was already rewriting history. By the age of 21, she had earned her professional bodybuilding card, becoming the youngest female pro bodybuilder in British history. Her rise was meteoric, and her physique reflected it. Compact, dense, and carved with almost surgical precision. Joanna trained with a level of intensity that bordered on self-destruction. Her recovery sessions were infamous, involving massage treatments so painful they left grown men in tears. These weren't luxury spa visits. They were brutal muscle-breaking techniques designed to force growth at any cost. Every aspect of her life revolved around pushing further, harder, and faster than anyone else. Although Joanna never publicly admitted to using steroids, the whispers inside the industry were deafening. Her rapid muscle development, extreme density, and relentless progression pointed toward chemical enhancement. In a sport where everyone is chasing the next edge, many believed Joanna had entered the anabolic arms race early and aggressively. Over time, the strain became impossible to ignore. By 2019, Joanna had developed severe early-onset osteoarthritis in both knees. The condition was so advanced that training became impossible. Without the ability to lift, Joanna lost more than her routine. She lost her identity. The body that had been her livelihood was now a source of pain and limitation. In April 2020, Joanna Thomas passed away in her home at just 43 years old.
I'm very sad to report that IFBB Pro Women's bodybuilder Joanna Thomas has passed at 43 years of age of unknown causes in her home in England.
Her death shocked the bodybuilding community and reignited uncomfortable conversations about the long-term costs of extreme training and chemical enhancement. Joanna's story isn't just about talent and success. It's about what happens when your body becomes your career and that body breaks down before its time. Bev Francis, strength against the standard. Bev Francis was born in 1955 in a small coastal town in Australia, but she was never destined for small things. As a child, she danced ballet with grace, swam competitively with speed, played football with intensity, and excelled in track and field. Yet none of it compared to what happened when she discovered powerlifting. Bev didn't just lift weights, she dominated them. She went on to become a 6-time world powerlifting champion, building a physique defined by raw strength, thick muscle, and explosive power. Her body wasn't designed to impress judges. It was built to move iron. And it did. In 1983, Bev exploded into mainstream awareness when she appeared in Pumping Iron 2, The Women. Audiences were stunned. Her muscularity rivaled that of elite male bodybuilders, and it shattered expectations of what a female athlete was supposed to look like. Some fans were inspired. Others were deeply uncomfortable. Criticism followed quickly. Judges and commentators claimed Bev looked too masculine. Rumors of steroid use intensified, fueled by her extreme development and noticeably deepened voice. Bev never confirmed these claims, but the consequences were immediate. In competitions, she was marked down, not for lacking muscle, but for having too much of it. To survive in the sport, Bev was forced to compromise. She reduced her muscle mass, reshaping the very body that had made her exceptional. She even underwent facial surgeries to appear more traditionally feminine, including reshaping her nose. It was a cruel contradiction. First praised for her power, then punished for it. Despite everything, Bev refused to disappear. In 1987, she won the World Championship, finding a balance between symmetry and strength that allowed her to succeed without completely erasing herself. Her story was ahead of its time, exposing the uncomfortable truth that women were often celebrated for breaking limits until those limits were actually broken. Joanna Thomas showed us what happens when the body gives out too soon. Bev Francis showed us what happens when society isn't ready for strength. But the next woman didn't shrink to fit the standard. She shattered it completely. Natalia Kuznetsova, Russia's muscle giant. Natalia Kuznetsova's story begins where most people's imagination shuts down completely.
We are here at Terzo Premium Fitness in Montenegro with none other than my special guest for today, Natalia Amazonka. Some of you may not know, but she has a couple of records, right? So you have a very big squat and I think also bench press, right?
Yes.
Born and raised in Russia, a country already known for producing some of the toughest strength athletes in the world, Natalia didn't merely push the boundaries of female bodybuilding, but erased them altogether, stepping far beyond what most believed was physically possible. At 5 feet 7 inches tall and weighing well over 225 pounds in competition condition, her physique looked less like something built through years of training and more like something engineered with precision, as if her body had been designed for strength rather than shaped by it. Her muscles were not only large, but densely packed, stacked layer upon layer with no softness to dilute their presence, making her impossible to ignore the moment she entered a room. Her arms alone told a story that many people were unprepared to accept, measuring close to 19 inches and rivaling, and often surpassing, those of elite male bodybuilders, while her shoulders spread wide like armored plates, and her chest carried the thickness usually reserved for heavyweight powerlifters. Below the waist, her thighs stretched nearly 29 inches around, forming massive pillars that looked carved from solid stone rather than grown from flesh and bone. This was not bodybuilding designed to please judges or grace magazine covers, nor was it built for elegance or traditional aesthetics. It was raw, unapologetic power made visible, strength without compromise. Unlike many athletes who skirt around uncomfortable truths, Natalia never pretended or softened her reality. She openly admitted to using anabolic steroids and spoke about them without shame or secrecy, treating them as practical tools rather than scandals, no different in her mind from nutrition, recovery, or training structure. Steroids allowed her to grow at a pace that defied biological expectations, helped her retain muscle mass during brutal cutting phases that would strip size from most athletes, and accelerated recovery in ways that made extreme strength sustainable, at least in the short term. She used that advantage deliberately, fully aware of both its benefits and its risks, and she lifted accordingly. Her numbers were not exaggerated internet myths or marketing tricks, but verified feats of strength that placed her among elite lifters regardless of gender, including a 375-pound bench press and a 530-pound deadlift, numbers capable of making seasoned male powerlifters pause in disbelief. She didn't just look powerful. She was powerful in the most literal sense. The cost of that power, however, was written clearly across her body. Her voice dropped into a deep, unmistakable register. Her jawline thickened and squared, and her facial features hardened as body fat vanished to the point where veins and muscle fibers became permanent fixtures rather than temporary competition details. To some, her appearance was intimidating or even frightening, a symbol of excess taken too far, while to others, she was inspiring, living proof that strength has no gender and no obligation to remain comfortable or familiar. Debate followed her everywhere, questioning whether this was still femininity, whether a line had been crossed, and whether such a line should exist at all. Natalia never seemed interested in answering those questions. She wasn't trying to redefine womanhood or destroy it. She was building a body that matched her ambition without apology, regardless of how uncomfortable it made others. In doing so, she forced the world to confront a reality it rarely wants to face, that when a woman fully embraces extreme strength, society often has no idea where to place her. Natalia Kuznetsova didn't just take steroids. She accepted every consequence that came with them and wore those consequences like armor. Yon Wuji breaking beauty in South Korea. If Natalia Kuznetsova challenged the physical limits of the human body, Yon Wuji challenged something far more deeply rooted and resistant to change: culture itself. Yon began her journey in South Korea weighing just 105 pounds, in a society where the ideal female body is expected to be small, delicate, restrained, and visually unobtrusive, where beauty is often defined by softness, narrow shoulders, gentle curves, and quiet presence, and where visible strength has rarely been welcomed as part of femininity. Yon did not fit that image, and she had no desire to. Through relentless training, rigid discipline, and years of sacrifice, she added nearly 50 pounds of muscle to her frame, transforming into a 154-pound powerhouse whose presence could not be ignored. Her shoulders widened, her arms thickened, her back expanded, and her voice deepened slightly, creating a transformation that was not gradual or subtle but sudden and shocking, leaving no room for polite adjustment or easy acceptance. Her competitive success validated the work she had put in, as she placed in the top 5 at elite IFBB competitions, such as the Vancouver Pro and the New York Pro, stages known for merciless standards and unforgiving competition where only the most conditioned athletes survive. Yet Yon's most defining moment did not happen under stage lights or judging panels, but in 2016, when she appeared on the South Korean variety show Star King, bringing her physique directly into the living rooms of a country unprepared to process it. The reaction was immediate and visceral. Gasps filled the studio, not with admiration, but with shock and discomfort. as her muscular build clashed violently with everything audiences had been conditioned to expect from a Korean woman. Online, the response exploded into heated debate, with some praising her courage, discipline, and refusal to conform, while others accused her of destroying her femininity and becoming something unnatural or wrong. Yon never publicly admitted to using steroids, but the familiar signs were present, including rapid muscle gain, extreme definition, and subtle hormonal changes. And whether chemical assistance played a role or not, the judgment she faced was relentless. In South Korea, defying beauty norms does not merely invite criticism, it can lead to social isolation, lost opportunities, and quiet erasure from public favor. Yet, Yon did not retreat. She wasn't trying to be beautiful by anyone else's standard, nor was she chasing approval or permission. She was building a version of herself that felt powerful, complete, and honest. And in doing so, she cracked open a conversation that had long been sealed shut, proving that strength itself can be beautiful even when it makes people deeply uncomfortable. Yon Wuji didn't just change her body. She forced an entire culture to confront its reflection, whether it wanted to or not. If these stories made you think, question, or see strength differently, let us know in the comments. Which story hit you the hardest? And do you think the price of extreme power is ever worth paying? If you want more deep dives like this, raw, unfiltered, and honest, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one.